This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we are talking with Yvens Pierre-Antoine. Welcome, Mr. Pierre.
Thank you so much. Please call me Yvens.
Yvens, okay.
Yvens Stevens.
Yvens Stevens, I got it. I love it. I am happy to have you today as my guest.
And I am honored to be invited to be a guest.
Yes.
And I've been looking forward to your podcast. And of course we met I guess almost like a year and a half ago.
During your campaign.
During running for state attorney.
Yes.
And I met you at various venues and we've talked.
Yes.
And I applaud you the work that you do with the Rosewood Foundation. And I think we're talking about how this is kind of appropriate because my first date that I had with my wife when I was in law school in Jacksonville, we had watched the Rosewood movie.
Really?
Yes, and it was very. I'll never forget it. It was the first date, and we got married, so it worked out well.
So she was turned on to Rosewood or to you?
I think it was Rosewood. I think Rosewood sealed the deal. She was like, "This brother's kind of cool," and and I never heard of Rosewood before that movie, and it was really interesting. And then come later to find out, I ran for an office that covered that area.
Is that right?
You see how God works?
Yes, yes. When you ran for the office, it included, are you saying Levy County was included?
Levy County was included.
Okay.
It covers 6 counties: Baker, Levy, Gilchrist, Alachua, Levy, and Union, and Bradford counties. And Levy was one of those counties that was included. And, I never thought in my wildest dream that I'll be living in an area that covered Rosewood. So very historically significant. And I thank God for what you do for the foundation and bring all the attention to what happened in those days.
And it takes people like you, with your words of support and your support, and to help us keep this history alive.
Yeah. We got to. I think it's important to remember the history. I think it puts everything in place. They say if you don't remember, you forget the history repeats itself.
Yes.
I also think it gives you perspective on where we are as a country, as a people. And it encourages us to keep progressing. So I love what you do with regards to that. Yes,
and it takes all of us working together. And I tell people, I've done this for like 42 years, but I let people know Rosewood is not about me. It's about all of us. It's about children, especially the next generation, our children.
Exactly. I think that is so important because that community represented progress for a segment of the population and the community. And the fact that it was wiped out in one evening, one day, nothing is promised. And I think we can't take anything for granted. And I think we got to, again, it should serve as a motivation to keep pursuing, keep progressing, and keep improving things.
Exactly.
So I applaud you for what you do. It's amazing. I'm excited about the museum.
Yes, I am.
And,
Yes, we are working on it, and hopefully, I used to tell people 2026, and now I have extended it to 2027.
Okay.
We need money, and we're going to have to raise that money with grant writing and that kind of thing. But I'm going to do it.
Oh,
It's
we all gonna do
yeah,
it.
we are going to do it. Yes.
Yeah, and we can't put it all on your shoulders.
Right.
My mama used to always tell me many hands can lighten the load.
Yes.
So we can't let it all fall on you. So
Exactly.
I think so. I applaud what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to see what we can do, together to make it happen. I'm looking forward to be of service wherever I can be.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah.
And when I mentioned the kids on Thursday of last week, Miller, what is it called?
Mirror image.
Mirror Image.
Yes.
Mirror Image came out. They brought 23 kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the grade, but those kids had the best time. They came out to Archer, where we are going to put the future home of the Rosewood Museum. I spent my time watching them.
Wow.
And how they reacted to being free. We walked the property. They had a ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their instructor said, these are in-house kids. They've never been on the outside like they are. Okay, today they had a wonderful time. And what was so interesting, I told Reverend Miller, I said, make sure they watch the movie. They had some very intelligent questions. They asked some very intelligent questions, which made my day easier, because they were involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's their program is wonderful. I met the founder, Greg Bradley.
Yes.
We used to go to church together, and we met one time during lunch, or it was coffee, and he sat down and shared the vision
Yes.
of Mirror Image, and the idea is to just that the kids were made in mirror image of God, and the promises that's made to them, and the expectations.
Yes.
And I know what his vision was to get them out the city, the state, and the country before they go to high school. When he outlined that vision, it hit me so hard.
Yes.
And especially in the light of the gun violence situation that we've been dealing with. And so one of the things that I love working with them, we came up, they do a lot of outreach excursion trips.
Yes.
Exposure trips, that's what they call it.
Right.
And so what we did was once a year, I typically bring back a client that I've represented.
Okay.
And we somebody who's typically have gone to prison before and come back.
Yes.
Who I develop relationship with a lot of my clients. We keep they become like family members over time. So what I would do is we would host at the law school. Through my contacts at the law school, we would have on a Saturday, we would have a presentation, and we go over a case of a client, and the kids would go over. We would split them into prosecutors and defense attorneys, and we would talk about. They would read the police reports and all the evidence involved in the case, and they would decipher whether or not what's the mitigation, whether there's mitigations or aggravators on the case, and they would try to figure out what they would think the appropriate sentence would be. And one of the things that would happen is that they weren't told ahead of time, but the person whose case that they're reading or reviewing is currently in the audience watching.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Really?
And it's really. And I think the first one we did, it shocked everybody because this young man had never been in trouble before, did a home invasion. We were able to secure a downward departure, meaning like if you are charged with a crime, there's a score sheet, and we got the judge to sentence him to below the guidelines.
Okay.
And I'll never forget with Judge Nylon. It was one of the scariest open pleas we ever did because it was a home invasion, facing life in prison. And when I kept in contact with this young man, and he was somebody, again, never been in trouble before. If you would have sat across from him, you would never have known that he went to prison. I mean, you would never have known. So he shared a story with the kids, and I think it was the first time he actually shared a story. I think his mom told me she was crying because she said he never opened up about his experience in prison. And he shared the real stories with the kids, and the kids asked a lot of questions, and they asked a lot of hard questions. And he shared the story. I mean, it was important. I think we need to do more of those things.
Yes, we
Because
do.
yeah, we do because he shared something with the kids that he didn't tell me, that while because he went to prison and was released on probation after prison, and he was still under supervision, and one of his co-defendant friends, while he was on probation, wanted to hang out with him.
Okay.
And he made my former client told the kids that he told the friend, the last time we hung out together, I ended up going to prison. So
Okay.
I'm gonna decline respectfully
Okay.
that
Okay.
invitation. But you know what happened after that? The gentleman who invited him to hang out ended up getting rearrested.
No, he didn't.
Yes, it was a fleeing and a looting, and that young man went to prison because he did another 17 years because he was still engaged in certain activities. But my former client, I think it was a profound statement because the kids understood that, one decision can change everything.
Exactly.
One decision,
Exactly.
you're one decision away from having some really bad results of certain actions that you take. So it was a very it was one of the more
Learning.
it was a great learning experience. It was one of the more impactful. They told me that it was one of the more popular excursions that they took just because we had the kids' attention. It was
Exactly. And you know what? What I learned from these little kids, well, they weren't little, seventh graders, I think.
middle school.
They're geniuses.
Yeah, smart. They're
I know.
smart.
They know how to ask. They asked me tough questions about Rosewood.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
because of my experience, I was able to ask. They didn't give up.
Yeah.
Okay, when one stopped, if my answer was not satisfactory, someone else would ask that same question or take it to the next level.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we need to have more programs and opportunities like
Yes.
those things because again, the more we know, the more self knowledge we obtain. The better we think of ourselves. It affects the way we treat other people, and take. It also gives us an opportunity to take advantage of opportunities.
Right.
I think that's one of the powerful things about that program is that it opens the kids to a lot of opportunities
Yes.
or things within reach. I think the important thing is the idea that you can be that person.
Yes.
You can achieve these things. There was one of my favorite books that if you meet me, you're going to hear me talk about this one book that I read years ago when I was in college. And it was a book about Reginald Lewis. I don't know if you're familiar who Reginald Lewis is.
I probably do.
Okay, you probably you. I wasn't sure if
I
you did or
have
not.
been through so many people, names, and incidents.
If I share you the story real quick, and Reginald Lewis, I always say he was the baddest brother to come out of Harvard. I know everybody talks about Barack. Barack was cool, but Reginald was such an extreme, was such a genius. He talked his way into Harvard Law School.
Okay.
And there's a building at Harvard named after him.
Really?
Yeah, it's called the International Business School, the Reginald Lewis.
Don't let them change it.
Oh, don't let them change it. They won't. They won't. No, because what Reginald did the largest leverage buyout in history.
Really?
Yes, and this is a man who didn't take the LSAT. He just talked his way into Harvard because they were so impressed by him. They said that you need to come, and I think those stories are so important because I know for me it captured my mind. It captured my imaginations that that you can achieve certain things.
Yes.
And it's within reach. And Reginald used to always have a saying. And this became the title of the book. The title of the book is "Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?" Which the premise is you can achieve anything. And you're not limited by the color of your skin. You can achieve and reach and search to achieve anything you want. And one of the great lessons in the book that I thought it was extremely important because it kind of formed. I think it started the pattern. It put them on the road to for success. But I think you're about to hit your first break.
Yes, I am. But you can finish that about Reginald.
Okay, I'll finish it.
Okay.
And he had a paper route, and his mom took over the paper route. And for him when he went to summer camp. When he came back from summer camp, Reginald asked his mother, "Where's the money for the summer camp? I mean, for the paper route that you took over for when I went to summer camp." And you know what the mom said?
No.
The mom said, "You're not entitled to any of the money because you didn't set the terms of the deal before you went to summer camp."
Okay.
But and some people may think, "Wow, that sounds so cold," but it was what was needed. It was a lesson.
It was a lesson.
And that same young man did the largest leverage buyout, international leverage buyout in history at that time.
Okay.
And it was called Beatrice Foods. It was an international food business.
Really?
They had plants all over the world, in
Really?
Argentina, and
Really?
everywhere else. And you can't tell me that lesson did not play a role
Exactly.
in achieving that.
Exactly. Is he still living?
No, unfortunately, he passed away, but he also played an important role.
He left a legacy.
He left a legacy. Beatrice Food is still around, but he played an important role in when Jesse Jackson first ran, he was one of the financial providers.
Yes. Okay.
And he did a lot of things like that behind the scenes.
Okay.
But a lot of people thought that he was going to be the first black president because he was what you call a monster in business.
Really?
Oh yeah, he was.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an incredible young man. He was doing this in the 80s.
Wow.
And he was not about the publicity. He was just about business. And I remember that in the book they talked about how they were going to try to purchase Paramount Studios. This was back in the day when Paramount was huge, and his brothers actually tried to purchase, because he's from Baltimore. They tried to purchase the Baltimore Orioles baseball team.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they left a legacy that it's I wish they would make a movie about it because of his achievements.
Right.
And I think it's definitely warrants for our kids to see that anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Okay. Okay. It's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History. I am Florida and America's Black History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with Yvens Pierre-Antoine. Did I do it right? Evans.
AKA Even Stevens.
Even Steven. Okay. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And Rosewood the story is so impactful. It's so much a part of my life because my aunt was a school teacher. Mm-hmm. She was a survivor. She suffered the agony of defeat, and my mom said, you must keep her story out there. You must keep it alive. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do, you tell that story. But she also told me, make sure you research, authenticate, document, tell the truth, and never attack anyone for what happened in Rosewood in 1923, because today's people are not responsible for yesterday's history. And I don't. And I make sure my lessons are inclusive. Politicians or or Republicans, Democrats, Independents, black, white, green, we all are in this together. And in order for us to build this museum, we are going to have to work together, raise money together, and build this museum together for our children. I love saying that about our kids, because they are going to be the next generation to take it to the next level.
Exactly. I think it's so important to again, to know our history, to acknowledge it, to learn from it. I think you're right. I think taking the blame game out of it is important, but let's focus on what needed to be learned.
Exactly.
Especially these days, I think sometimes we can get distracted by
Yes.
what's not really important.
Yes.
Let's focus on what we can learn and grow from
Each other.
from each other.
And grow together.
Exactly. And I think sometimes the people get scared and are reluctant to acknowledge certain things because there's a guilt that's felt, and and there's they're concerned about being blamed for certain things, but I think it's important for us to acknowledge it
Exactly.
for what it is and see what we can learn from it.
Exactly.
And I think even nowadays, where even social media, people get so caught up in certain things, and that's kind of like what happened in Rosewood, right? People get caught up in certain things,
Exactly.
and let's be adults and grow from it. And I applaud what you do and keeping the story alive, keeping the history alive, and I strongly believe that if we don't forget, if we don't remember these things, that we will repeat it. So that's extremely important.
It is.
And we learn a lot from it.
We do, and my mother would tell me often, she said, had it not been for the sheriff, the Levy County sheriff, Rosewood would have really been wiped off the map, because Cedar Key, Rosewood is next door to Cedar Key, like
Yes, ma'am.
9 miles, and Cedar Key is a peninsula. Had it not been for the sheriff, it knew the area and knew how to maneuver and get those men from Cedar Key to become a part of, I call them my heroes, become a part of the night people that helped the train conductors encourage those people, the sheriff, to please get on this train and help us go through Rosewood and pick up these people to get them out, or all of them are going to be killed. And they all said to him, "No, Bob, we can't do that. We cannot afford to involve our family." He said, "Well, what about 4 a.m. in the morning?" 4 a.m., all of the mean people, would be asleep.
Wow.
And they said, "Okay, we'll think about it." And he was able to round up men, I don't know how many, but I call them my unsung heroes, because they got on that train, they came through Rosewood, and they brought those people to Archie, Gainesville, and all the way up to Brightsville, where the Brights brothers' home was. And my mom said to me one day, "Baby, if you're going to tell that story, I need to write you a song." My mother was an 8th grade scholar,
Wow.
but she was a genius.
Wow.
And just a few verses from her song I always like to share, because she made sure I didn't accuse anybody. So she put it in this song, and it goes like this. The Cedar Key train conductors were told to pick up in Rosewood. Standing by the tracks with a lantern, its young school teacher stood, waiting in desperation to carry out the sheriff's plans, rounding up the hidden survivors to board the midnight train. John Walker and John Wright headed on up the track, picking up other survivors, not taking the time to look back, counting heads and making a list, doing what they knew they should, to report to Sheriff Bob Walker back down in Rosewood. They had to, they didn't have to, but they informed him what was going on as they were traveling, okay, to Briceville to make sure those people were safe.
Wow.
So the first stop was Archer, and that is where my aunt exited the train along with other people that were really not from Archer.
Wow.
Many of the people that disembarked from the train on their way to Briceville were not from Florida.
Wow.
Because they came to Cedar Key in the mid-1800s, and they were enslaved. So they came to Cedar Key with slave masters.
Wow.
And doing my research, I was able to find my great-grandfather, because my mom was just a historian. So one day, as a kid, I said, Mom, I knew her side, my maternal side, but I didn't know anything about my dad. I said, Mom, where dad people from? She said, Levy County.
Wow.
And I said, what's his name? She said, Henry McIntyre. So one day I was at the library, the Smathers Library, just looking and researching and pulling up census records. And the name Henry McIntyre popped up. I said, I found you. He was age 1 in 1848.
Wow.
And then on that same list was his children. My grandfather, Abner McIntyre, and immediately I said, that's Grandmada's daddy. And the one I call Grandmada, that was my father's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and she was on there. I couldn't wait to get home to tell Ma. I said, Ma, I found my daddy's people. And I did. And I let them know that they are as much as Rosewood as my people on my mother's side.
Wow.
And it's a huge story, and I work really hard at keeping it real and telling the truth. And I want everybody to know the truth is what I am seeking so that we can raise money together. But right now, I'm going to have to do a shout out to the sponsors. Campus USA Credit Union is one of our big sponsors, okay, and they are right here for us. Coach Steve Sperry, off the chain. He is the greatest, and I want you all to remember to patronize this restaurant. We are open from Tuesday through Sunday from 4 until 10 or 11 p.m. So remember, every weekend there is a brunch from 11 to 3 p.m. right here, Sunday and Saturday. Remember the brunch. Meldon Law has been here forever. In fact, Meldon Law, this podcast is the Meldon Law podcast room.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Freddie Weeby. I can't say enough about Freddie Weeby. Freddie Weeby does it all.
Okay.
And if you haven't met Freddie Weeby, I want you to meet Freddie Weeby.
I look forward to meeting Mr. Weeby.
Okay, he is from Ghana.
Okay.
And when he was in 5th grade living in Ghana, he read the story about Rosewood.
Wow.
And wrote a paper.
Wow.
He's going to give me a copy of that
Wow.
of that paper.
Yeah.
He never thought when he moved here to the United States he would have met a Rosewood descendant.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing. So he was kind enough to name the show Queen Lizzie Podcast. Okay?
Wow.
That's an honor. I love the name Queen.
I do. I love it too. It fits you so well. But you know what's interesting. I know we're coming to an end soon. Is that you said something I thought that was very interesting. You talked about the heroes, and a lot of times when we see tragedy, we always talk about what happened, but we never focus on the heroes. And there were, and I think it's important that you highlighted that there were some men who really stepped up and took a risk
Yes, they did.
To save, to ensure the safety of their fellow members of humanity. Like, hey, these people are human beings and they need to be cared for.
Yes.
And to ensure their safety.
Yes.
And I think that's a story that we don't often hear about Rosewood.
Exactly.
And we don't hear about the heroes.
Exactly.
And I think that area, those stories need to be told, and they deserve to be acknowledged.
Exactly.
Because it's a risk.
It's a risk, and they took the risk.
They took the risk, and sometimes we always think that, hey, I would have done this, I would have done that if I was there, but a lot of times you don't really know until you're there.
Exactly, and they were the guys that when the train stopped in Rosewood to pick up the elderly men, women, and children, they were the guys that the unsung heroes that got off that train and helped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, those are important stories that I think they're encouraging stories.
They are.
And
Touches my heart.
It does. I mean, because again, I mean, the thing where somebody put their risks, their lives, in order to save another human being to ensure their safety, and you don't have to do that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Don't.
Yeah, it's a very unselfish thing, and they didn't do it for publicity. They didn't have selfies back then.
Exactly. And they didn't want anybody to know.
They didn't want anybody to know.
Exactly.
So it's remarkable. I think so. I applaud you because I think one of the things that's interesting is that you want to tell the whole story.
Yes.
It's not just appointing. It's like, hey, this is what happened, and these are the people that stepped up to the plate to deal with it. And that's something I think that's remarkable. It shows humanity.
It does, and I have been able to go back and retrace history because I've been to Briceville. I found they are located, the Brice brothers, family members. And when I got there, I'm making it short, I knocked on the door because the little store merchants that were there, mom and pop stores, I went there one day and I said to them, have you all heard of the Brice family? Oh yes, they're right, they live right back there. I went to the trailer, I knocked on the door, and the young lady came to the door and I said, my name is Lizzie Jenkins and I am looking for the Brice family because my aunt was, I didn't say victim, my aunt was a part of the Rosewood Massacre. She opened that door wide or grabbed me and said, come on in. Where have you been? For 5 years, I have been wanting to find somebody from Rosewood to talk to. She said, my mother has died since this time. She told me everything. She said, but I don't remember a thing. But she said to me, I have some pictures I'll share with you.
Wow.
I have those pictures. We became friends. And that's why my story, it continued to grow. Okay, real.
Well, again, it's remarkable what you do because it's hard to, and we don't want you to have to carry the whole weight by yourself. And I think this is important. It's funny that we're here in a place that honors the football coach.
Yes.
Because every quarterback needs a good offensive lineman, right?
Yes. Yes.
we need a strong line to make it happen, right?
Yes. And I appreciate your time and your input. Okay, very much. And I'm looking forward to us working together to get this museum going.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And please, anything I can do, I'd love to be there to help. And I applaud what you're doing. And I think history is important. And thank you I'm humbled by your invitation.
Okay.
And I truly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you very much. Okay, I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you.